Hi everyone, it's Chanel here, and I've decided that this month I'm gonna do a reading challenge where I only read books from my school library for an entire month. I'm doing this challenge because I love libraries, but I don't really often borrow books from the library because I love annotating my books as well and writing in them and underlining quotes. But when it comes to children's books, I normally don't annotate them. So I think mostly this month I'll be reading children's books. Basically a bunch of books that I've wanted to read as a child but I never did, or books that are recommended to me, or even just any books that I see when I'm at the library that looks interesting to me. By the way, today is the 1st of August. So these are the first 3 books I picked out from the library. The first one is The Hidden Kingdom, which is the 3rd book in the Wings of Fire series, because this is a series that I'm currently reading, so I'm really excited to read this book. And I think it's from the perspective of Glory as well, who is a Rainwing, and she's like a really interesting character because Rainwings can camouflage, and Glory in particular has this like deathly venom. So I think this is gonna be a really fun book to read. The next book I have here is Wonder, which I don't know much about this book, but my friend recommended it to me, so I really want to read it. And I've also seen this book while I was a kid, but I never ended up reading it, so now I will finally read it. And the last book I have here is Smile, which is another book that I've actually never read, but I've heard a lot about when I was a kid. And this is actually a graphic novel, so this is going to be very exciting to read. Let's get on with the video. For day 1, I read The Hidden Kingdom, and I'm up to chapter 20, which is page 177, and I'm really liking this book so far. They've discovered this weird hole in the rainforest that actually is a tunnel that leads to the desert. They end up all going through the tunnel through the desert to find Blaze, who is one of the potential queens that they have to choose between. So there's 3 sisters, Blister, Burn, and Blaze. Everyone's like, I don't really like Blaze because she's so stupid and she wouldn't be able to like fight or defend herself. At least she's not like purely evil like her sisters. So if I was them, I would be like, okay, out of the 3 sisters, I'd probably choose Blaze. We've also met a Nightwing called Deathbringer. Like, his name is literally Deathbringer. There's a lot of mystery behind him right now, so I actually don't know much about him. But yeah, that's all for today, so excited to keep reading. Hey guys, it is day 2 and I finished reading The Hidden Kingdom. Wow, this book got even more exciting in the last couple of chapters. So Glory manages to find the missing Rainwings, but only because she herself gets kidnapped by the Nightwings, and she only manages to escape with Kinkajou, one little dragonette who's like 3 years old, and it's only because Clay and Deathbringer actually help her. I have no idea why Deathbringer helped her. Like, I'm not really sure whose side he's on right now. But basically, Glory needs to get the other Rainwings to help her and form like an army to save the other Rainwings. But the current queen, Queen Magnificent, doesn't really care about doing that. So in order to make that happen, Glory has challenged the queen to take her place. So there's this whole challenge where the 5 current queens of the Rainwings that they're rotating between have to compete against Glory and her 4 chosen teammates. And they do a bunch of Rainwing challenges. And there's this huge plot twist because one of the oldest Rainwings and one of the queens, I think, what was her name? Grandeur? I think her name was Grandeur. And she ends up being Glory's grandmother. And apparently Queen Grandeur was the only one who was like royal blood before they decided to just do whoever wants to be queen can be queen, and we just rotate between them. So in the very last challenge, Grandeur ends up forfeiting so that Glory could be the queen. And now that she's the queen, at the very end we find out that Starflight is missing. And from what Clay has told us, we pretty much know that he's gone to find the Nightwings and probably warn them because like they're his own tribe, so he probably doesn't feel that great about fighting against his own tribe. But like, what about your friend Starflight? I really need the 4th book right now, like I don't have it. But yeah, I ended up rating this book 4.6 stars. I think so far in this series each book is getting better. So yeah, that's all for today though. Hey guys, it's day 3 and today I read Smile and I also started reading Wonder. I read Smile pretty quickly because it's a graphic novel and it's about this 11-year-old girl who falls, and in the process 2 of her front teeth end up falling out, so she begins a very long journey with braces, a long and painful journey. And it's also about her life with family, school, friends, all that stuff. So I feel like I would have really enjoyed this in middle grade and I still enjoyed it now. And I gave it a solid 4 stars. Also, I'm so glad she ended up making new friends at the end because why were her friends actually so mean? Like, they were always teasing her to the point where I'm like, are they even being nice to her at all? So yeah, I'm glad she made some real friends at the end. And because I finished that book pretty early in the day, I also started Wonder and I'm currently up to page 45. So this book is about a 10-year-old boy who was born with a facial difference and he is now going to school for the first time as a 5th grader. And I'm really enjoying it so far. I mean, he's just started his first day of school. He's also met 3 of the other students, Charlotte, Jack, and Julian. I also just realized that the main character's name is August, and it is literally the month of August right now. So yeah. Hi everyone, it's day 4 and I'm up to page 236 in Wonder. I am really impressed by this book so far. One thing that did surprise me though was how many perspectives there were. There was Via, Jack, Justin, Summer, and obviously August. And I think the one that I'm up to right now is Miranda, and that would be 6. And I think the way that this book transitions from one perspective to another is so well done. Another thing I'm loving is how with each perspective change there is like a quote. So for example, this one with August, there's a quote from Hamlet, and Jack has a quote from The Little Prince, which I love The Little Prince so much. Now here is my secret, it is very simple. It is only with one's heart that one can see clearly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. Also another thing with Justin's perspective, he has like all lowercase, which is really interesting. And he seems like the sweetest guy ever. Like reading his perspective and seeing how he views Olivia, just you can like tell that he's so in love with her. I am so excited to read about Miranda because we haven't seen much of her, and I just know she has pink hair, so that's pretty cool. Oh look, and this also has some scenes from the movie. Like what? Some pictures, which is so cool because now I just have to watch the movie after I read this. I'm so excited to continue reading this tomorrow because I absolutely love it so far. Today is day 5 and I finished reading Wonder, which I gave 5 stars because I just love that book so much. I'm so glad that my friend recommended it to me. Okay, so I went to the library in search of the 4th book in the Wings of Fire series called The Dark Secret, and originally I didn't find the actual book, but I did find the graphic novel, so I got this instead. And I read this all in one day, so it was quite a quick read. I also feel like so much happened in like such a short amount of reading time since it's a graphic novel, so I'm like kind of still processing everything. But wow, okay, this book was really good. I gave it 4 stars. I feel like I might have enjoyed it a bit more if it was like the novel. Even though it was really cool to see the illustrations, it was just very fast-paced for me. Also, the stakes are very high in this book. We find out that Mauricia had kept like a whole nother set of dragonets for the prophecy, but they weren't actually like born on the right dates. So it was just kind of like backup, or if he just doesn't like the way that the original dragonets turned out. And obviously we still have the whole the Nightwings are keeping Rainwings prisoners in the Nightwing Kingdom. But then Starflight actually finds out that the reason why the Nightwings are testing Rainwing venom, trying to find a way to like make some kind of protective gear for it, is because that they planned to invade the Rainwing territory so that they can take over it, because the Nightwing Kingdom is like so terrible. The living conditions are like not livable, which is why they want to invade the forest and in the process kill all the Rainwings so that they can live there, which is crazy. And like Starflight's obviously panicking because he's like, all my friends and the Rainwings are gonna die like if this plan follows through. So Starflight ends up like using this dream traveler or dream visitor thing. I can't remember what it's called, but basically he visits Glory in his dreams, tells her like everything that's happening, and like they do this whole like escape thing and end up getting all of the Nightwings as well to escape to the rainforest through the tunnel on the one condition that they all accept Glory as their queen, which is like crazy for the Nightwings because they're like if you know their personality, like them having a Rainwing as their queen is just like unbelievable. Also the volcano erupts, so this is like huge volcano, and Mauricia at the end like reveals that I don't know if this is true or if he was just saying this, but he said that he like just wrote the prophecy one day with what was her name? He wrote it with someone, and like it wasn't actually a real prophecy. He only wrote the prophecy so that he can invade the Rainwing territory through some like complicated plan. That basically just like shocks all of the dragonets, obviously. And Mauricia ends up getting burnt by the volcano, which is like a pretty good moment. Another notable moment towards the end, Starflight finally got the courage to confess to Sunny. That was an amazing moment. I was like so cheering for them. Not only was this book so entertaining, but it was also so funny. Like, I just love Wings of Fire humor. Also, this book was from Starflight's perspective, so I wonder who it's gonna be for the next book. We haven't had Sunny yet. Wait, I think Sunny's the only one we haven't had yet. that mean the next book is gonna be from Sunny's perspective? Oh my gosh, that's actually so exciting because I love Sunny so much. And I especially want to know what her thoughts are after Starflight confessed to her. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to the school library tomorrow because I have nothing left to read tonight, which is kind of sad. Maybe I should have borrowed something else today. But I didn't expect to finish this fast. I mean, I didn't read it that quickly. I just spent a lot of time reading. So yeah, but that was everything for today. The book that I read on days 6 and 7 was actually unplanned because this book was not even on my TBR. Instead, the librarian actually told me that they had some new books brought into the school library from this author called Anne Liang. And so I picked out one of her books called If You Could See the Sun, and I decided to give it a go. So as you can see, this book is a teen YA book, and it's about this girl called Alice who goes to an international boarding school in Beijing and finds out that she has the ability to turn invisible. So that's pretty cool how it has some magical realism as well. I feel like I've never actually read a book like this before. It feels more like a C-drama because there's also romance as well, and I'm actually pretty invested. I want to know what happens next. Also, I'm up to page 205, and I think this is the first time I've read a book that's actually set in China, so that's really nice because I am Chinese. But also, Alice has a friend called Chanel, which is the most exciting part for me because I've never read a book with a character that has my name. And I also have a friend called Alice, and we're both Chinese and we're both in year 12, just like the characters in this book. So that's an insane coincidence. I also searched up the author Anne Liang, and I found out that she has a book coming out at the end of the year called I Could Give You the Moon, which has Chanel as the protagonist. And now I just have to read that when that comes out. The idea of reading a book with a protagonist with the same name as me is just so exciting. And I also love Chanel's character, which makes it even better. Also, I just love the art on this cover. This is what the back looks like. And because this is a newer book for the school library, it's in super good condition, unlike some of the previous books I've read. Especially the Wings of Fire books, they're practically falling apart because they've probably been borrowed so many times. So I'm going to be continuing reading this book. I am super excited, and I'm also really grateful that the librarian recommended me this author because I feel like it's not something I would have reached for on my own. On day 8, I finished reading If You Could See the Sun, and I definitely feel like reading this book felt like a C-drama. Even though the romance was barely there, it was still nice. All the events that were happening in this book made me really excited, so I think it was a page turner. I also just loved reading a book from the perspective of a Chinese character. Overall, I gave this book 4.5 stars, and I think I want to read another book by Anne Liang in the future. Okay, so now on to day 9, I of course had to go to the library again and borrow 2 new books. So this one I haven't started reading yet, but it's Nick and Charlie, and this is by Alice Oseman, who wrote the Heartstopper series. And I've read the Heartstopper graphic novels and also the yearbook, so it is finally time to read this Heartstopper novella. I have, however, started The Brightest Night, which is the 5th book in the Wings of Fire series. And I was right, this book was from Sunny's perspective, and I just love Sunny as a character, so it's been really interesting so far. She's met her mother, and she's kind of the leader of the Outlaws, which is they live at the Scorpion Den. The interesting part of this book, I feel was the obsidian mirror that Sunny uses at the beginning, which she actually stole from 3 of the Nightwings who were trying to kill her. Hey guys, this is Chanel from Later That Night, while editing the video, and I realized that I never actually talked about what the obsidian mirror does. So basically, when you say a dragon's name, it can show you the dragon and allow you to secretly spy on them. But each time it gives you a cold, dark sensation, so it's not really something you want to do often. Well, they kidnapped her actually, and then she escaped from them, but then she ended up following them because they were gonna go to find Bern. Okay, so I'm up to page 132, and so far Sunny is with Bern's brother. So Sunny is technically held prisoner by Smolder, but Smolder is actually a pretty nice dragon. He is much less fierce and scary than his sister Bern. Anyways, the part that I just got up to, we have just seen Peril, who was one of the dragons from the first book. But I actually liked her character in the first book, so I'm so excited now to see where things are going to go. Hey guys, it's me again that same night, because I continued reading until chapter 15, which is page 158, and oh my goodness, so much has happened. So after Peril makes her appearance, she ends up stopping the fight between the Sandwings and the other Sandwings, like the Outclaws and Thorn, because obviously like Peril is like the character that no dragon wants to get near, because her scales will literally burn anyone who touches her, except for Clay, who is fireproof. Okay, but the thing I wanted to talk about was a theory that I've had for a very long time. In fact, I've had this theory since the first book, which was that Sunny was only half Sandwing and half from another tribe. And I was right. I knew it. I knew it because everyone was always saying how Sunny was a funny looking Sandwing, but I never actually stopped to think like which other tribe she could be from. So I was actually super surprised when we found out that she's half Nightwing. Her mother fell in love with a Nightwing, just like Starflight and Sunny. Also, he was an Animus. Not only that, he was the one who created the tunnels. The tunnel that goes from the desert to the rainforest. Like, that is actually crazy. But here is the mystery. We have no idea what happened to Stone Mover, that is Sunny's father. So for days 10 and 11, I continued reading The Brightest Night up until page 287, which is chapter 27. Yesterday I started reading Nick and Charlie, which I finished today, and I have to admit that I didn't enjoy this book as much as I thought I would. It's a Heartstopper novella, and I absolutely love the Heartstopper graphic novels. I ended up giving this book 2 stars. I just feel like the only thing that happened in this book was they had an argument that was like literally formed out of nothing. It was because Charlie thought Nick wanted to break up with him, and Nick thought Charlie wanted to break up with him, so they ended up like not talking for a while, but then they made up again, and that was kind of it. So yeah, that was a bit disappointing. However, today I also watched the movie Wonder, and I absolutely loved that movie so much. I gave it 5 stars, just like the book, and I think it was a really good adaptation of the book. So yeah, I would highly recommend it. As for The Brightest Night, it's been kind of crazy because they brought together the 3 sisters, Bern, Blister, and Blaze. One of them died. Who was it? It was Bern. Okay, so Blister pulled out this like venomous snake that killed Bern, and now she's planning to kill Blaze as well. Also, that venomous snake, which is deadly, bit Clay while he was trying to save Sunny and Starflight. And it was like super crazy because there was this whole thing where Peril just came out of nowhere and literally burnt out the venom from Clay's wound, which would have made him die if he wasn't fireproof. So instead, it just put him in a lot of pain and literally like all the dragons were watching. So now I'm down to the last 15 pages and we will see how this war ends if it does end. Hey guys, it is day 12 and I've borrowed 2 new books from the library. So this is Howl's Moving Castle, which is also the book that inspired the Studio Ghibli film. I love that film, so I wanted to read the book as well. I'm currently up to page 47, and I love how at the beginning of each chapter there's like an illustration. That just looks so cool. Anyways, the second book I have is Moon Rising, which is the graphic novel of the 6th book in the Wings of Fire series. And I haven't started this yet, but I do want to talk about the 5th book, The Brightest Night, that I finished this morning. And I just realized that the entire series is actually split up to 3 parts. So the first 5 books make up the first part, which is what I finished. So at the end of the book, the war ended, and it's actually pretty surprising because who ended up being queen was Thorn, which was Sunny's mother, and the one sister out of Blister, Blaze, and Burn that survived was Blaze. She was so shocked as well. She was like, I'm the last one living? Like, I'm the one who survives? Like, it was a surprise for everyone. Oh yeah, and Thorn becomes queen because the scavenger called Flower, who was like Smolder's pet scavenger or something. By the way, scavengers are like humans for dragons. Okay, so she finds the Eye of the Onyx. I think that ends up killing Blister, but in the end, in the epilogue, like, everything was like resolved. So now I'm like wondering what is gonna happen in this book. And I don't even know if it's gonna be told from the same 5 dragonettes. So we'll see. Hey guys, so for days 13 and 14 I read Moon Rising and I really enjoyed this graphic novel. I would give it, I think, a 4.3 stars. This book is set at the new school that the Dragonettes of Destiny created. However, it's from a new perspective, which is Moon, who is a Nightwing, and she has the ability to read minds, and also there's a new prophecy. It's been so interesting so far. I especially love these pages with the moon phases on them. At this school, they also have a winglet where they have different dragons from different tribes in the same group. And there are 5 dragons in this winglet. So I'm guessing that the next 4 books are going to be from different perspectives of those dragons. And at the end, they also leave the school and go to the rainforest. So yeah, that's all for today. Hey guys, it is day 15, which is the 15th of August, and it's also my best friend's birthday. So I kind of got lucky today at the library because I've been looking for book 7 all week and I haven't found it until now, which is just in time as well because I was like starting to panic because of this challenge. I can't go to the bookstore and buy books. I can only read library books this month, and I really wanted to know what happened next in the series. So luckily I found the 7th book, which is called Winter Turning, and it's from the perspective of Winter, which is an Icewing. So that's pretty new. I'm also really enjoying it so far. I'm only up to page 52. I'm also really enjoying this new winglet. I think that reading Turtle's perspective would be really interesting, and I also love Kinkajou, obviously. The dragons are currently in the rainforest because they kind of left school, which got them in trouble because they're like early dragonettes. And I am still reading Howl's Moving Castle, and I'm up to page 226, with that, so I'll be continuing this book as well. Personally, I feel like this book is best for me to read before bed because it's like a cozy book, so that's just my preference. Hey guys, so for days 16 and 17 I finished reading Winter Turning and I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4.3 stars. I think it was really cool to finally see the Ice Kingdom and how the Ice Wings lived, because they ended up having this ranking system which seemed really important to them. Also, Winter finally finds his missing brother Hailstorm, who was actually disguised as a Skywing, but he wasn't aware of it. It was because of this necklace that Hailstorm was wearing that caused him to turn into a Skywing dragon. In the end, Winter returns to his winglet friends. He's finally calling them his friends. So that is character development since the beginning of the book. Tomorrow is Monday, so I'll be going to the school library again, and I'm really hoping that they have book 8. Hey guys, it's day 19 and as you can see I'm holding a lot of books right now, so I have a lot to update you guys on. So firstly, I finished reading Howl's Moving Castle, which I gave 4 stars, and I really liked the ending. I think it was so magical and whimsical. I loved how even though Calcifer was set free in the end and their contract was over, he ended up coming back. Okay, so this book called Garlic and the Witch is a graphic novel I found while browsing the graphic novel section in the library. And I didn't know anything about this book going in. I just thought the illustrations looked cool, and it was actually such a cozy and fun story, and it was so heartwarming as well, and I actually really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 stars. I feel like the vibes are very autumnal, and Garlic ends up growing up into a human as well as all the other vegetables, which is so cute. So yeah, I would highly recommend this book if you're looking for something with low stakes and just like something cozy. Okay, so I've got the next book in the Wings of Fire series. This is book 8 called Escaping Peril, and I've only just started this book, but that was from yesterday, but today I borrowed these 2 books. So first of all, we have Peter Pan, because I've never actually read this story, but I watched like the Disney animation when I was a kid. And this hardback edition, it just looks really pretty, and it also has like illustrations in it, and you know I love illustrations, so I'm gonna give this book a go. And the last book I have here is another book by Anne Leung called I Hope This Doesn't Find You, and I saw the librarian who recommended me this author again today, and I told her that I really enjoyed If You Could See the Sun, so I wanted to try another one of her books, and she found this one for me, so I've just started reading that. I'm only up to page 34, which is chapter 3. And I feel like the beginning of the book, it feels very similar to If You Can See the Sun. But yeah, I'm excited to continue this book and see where it goes. But that's everything for today. Hey guys, I'm here for another reading update for days 21 and 22. So first of all, today I just finished reading I Hope This Doesn't Find You, and I think I enjoyed this book, but a little bit less than If You Could See the Sun. Maybe it's because it's missing the magical realism element that I liked, but I still enjoyed this. I think I'd give it 3.7 stars. Yeah, it was pretty exciting to read. I feel like I read it quite quickly because I wanted to know what happened next. So I feel like the spine looks pretty cool, if you can see. Okay, so these 2 books I've continued reading. For Peter Pan, I'm up to page 89, and this is another book that I feel like is good for me to read before I go to sleep. It just feels like a bedtime story kind of book, and I'm enjoying this so far. And then there is Escaping Peril, which I'm up to chapter 4, which is page 43. And that's all for today. Hey guys, it's day 25 and we're on to the last week of this challenge. Also, it's Monday, which means I had ballet today, so let me show you guys my outfit. This is my outfit. Now, onto the books I read. So first of all, I finished reading Peter Pan, which I ended up giving 3.3 stars. So yeah, I enjoyed it and it was a nice story, but wasn't really anything more than that. Okay, so for Escaping Peril, I would give it like 4.3 stars. I feel like the first half of the book I was a little bit bored, but then the second half it got really good and there was like this huge plot twist which I could not have seen coming. I was reading this at school and I started having an identity crisis because what do you mean that Ruby does not exist? Like that was just revealed in the arena. Also Peril's father is a Rainwing. There was kind of a lot of moments where I'm like just really shocked. So Queen Scarlet had two daughters called Ruby and Tourmaline, but turns out Ruby never existed. Like we have Queen Ruby and everyone thought that Queen Scarlet had killed Tourmaline, but turns out Queen Ruby is Tourmaline and Ruby was just like a made up dragon. Like it's kind of complicated because Peril's father has this like scroll that was made from an animus dragon that allowed him to like shapeshift and also allowed him to turn Tourmaline into Ruby. Also Tourmaline ended up killing Queen Scarlet for the throne, which Queen Ruby / Tourmaline is actually such a good queen. I ended up loving her even though she originally banished Peril from the kingdom at first, but now they are on good terms. We have reunited with the Winglet from the like school in the first book. So that's everything for this book. And then today I also borrowed a new book, and this is I Am Not Jessica Chen by Anne Leung. I also got a free bookmark from the library. That's what it looks like. And I haven't started this book yet, but I'll start it tomorrow. So I'm really excited for this. Hey guys, it is day 29 and I'm up to page 232 in I Am Not Jessica Chen. And as you can see, I got my face painted today. So this is the berry theme. I think it looks pretty cute. And I haven't got my face painted in like years, so this was a really fun experience. Anyways, on to the book. So I feel like I've been enjoying this so far. The magical realism part is quite cool because basically Jenna Chen, the protagonist, makes a wish one day that she wants to become her cousin, who is Jessica Chen. And that is because Jessica seems to have the perfect life. She's pretty, she's got the perfect grades, and like everyone wants to be her. So one day, Jenna Chen actually wakes up as Jessica because her wish comes true. But now she is searching for Jessica's soul because she can't find her real cousin anywhere. Also, her body is gone because she's in Jessica's body. So yeah, I'm really curious as to what's going to happen. I also saw Anne Leung's books in the bookstore, and I don't know, maybe I'll buy one of her books one day because I don't know if there's any more of her books in the school library. I've only seen the 3 that I've already read, and there's only 2 days left of this month until it's September, so I'll probably just be finishing this book as the last book. So see you then. Hey guys, it is day 31, the last day of August, and I'm so excited for September tomorrow because September is my birthday month, and I'm also gonna be making a birthday vlog, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, onto the book. So I finished reading I Am Not Jessica Chen, and I really liked this book and I gave it 4.4 stars. I think out of all of Anne Leong's books, the characters in this book were my favorite. I also love how the protagonist loves art and painting, and I liked the ending as well. So overall, I think I would recommend this book. And that concludes the 1 month reading challenge. And I think my favorite book that I read this month would have to be Wonder. I am so glad I did this challenge because it definitely got me to use my school library more. And I would highly recommend going to your school library or just any library and borrowing a book. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it. So if you did, then let me know in the comments. Also comment down below your favorite book that you read this month. And if you've read any of the books that I read in this video, then let me know. But yeah, that's all for now, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!